to Inside Area 9. I'm Kathy Bridgford and I'm your host today. And today we're going to be talking about 5 steps to better health. What a great topic. And my guest today is Dr. Michael Johnson. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kathy.
You've been a guest on my show before, but it's been several years ago.
It has been. Last time we were talking about spinal decompression.
There you go. So today we're going to be talking about 5 steps to better health. What a great topic. Everybody knows where our nation is in a financial crisis now. In your opinion, what should be done to help that?
Well, yes, we're in a crisis. In 2008, in this country, we spent like $2.4 trillion on health care, which is such a big number. But that comes down to like $76,000 every second in this country that we're spending on health care. That number is supposed to double that amount by 2016. So we're spending lots and lots of money on health care. But most of the money that we spend is on preventable deaths. So although we spend most of our money, or the most amount of money of any country in the world, we're worst on preventing preventable deaths. So a study found that Japan, France, and Australia rated best, and the United States worst in rankings focusing on preventable deaths due to treatable conditions in 19 leading industrialized nations.
Wow.
So preventable deaths would be like heart disease, cancer, and diabetes, which is really rising. For example, diabetes has tripled in the last 40 years and continues to rise. So it's not so much who's going to pay for our health care and how much it costs, it's that we're overutilizing our healthcare system with preventable diseases that you and I can take 5 steps today to start changing.
Mm-hmm. Well, why do you think our nation's so sick?
Good question. So people wonder, well, why are we sick? Yeah. So is it bad genes?
Right.
Bad germs, bad luck?
Yeah.
Well, most people want to blame genes or blame genetics. And there was a book written called The Blue Zone, and The Blue Zone was written by National Geographic researchers. They went to 5 different areas in the world that had the people who lived the longest. Mm-hmm. So they located these 5 areas, they circled them with a blue pen so it became the blue zones. But they studied these people to figure out what was their secret to longevity, what's their secret to health. And what they found after looking at everything was that environment and lifestyle might be more important factors than genetics to explain longevity. So it's not genetics, it's really our environment. Because genetically, as a human species, our genetics hasn't changed for like 40,000 years. Mm-hmm. So why are we so sick? Mm-hmm. It's probably lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Yes.
You know, I would recommend that book to all of our listeners. I read that book as well. And what an interesting book to see the research that they did. And, you know, you pick up a lot of good tips by some of the things that they did.
Yeah. And they're remote places of the world.
Yeah.
4 out of the 5 places were pretty remote places of the world.
Yes, they were. I was amazed at just some of them. You know, I think it was Okinawa. You know, how old they were, but they sit on the floor to eat, up and down, up and down. You know, they're 100 years old. They can do that still. Yeah. You know, so yeah,
it's the lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle. What is health?
Good question. So health is really your cells functioning at 100%. So all living things are composed of living cells, and they work harmoniously together in a self-healing, self-regulating ecosystem to maintain health and life. So our cells are genetically equipped from birth with the proper intelligence to function the way they're supposed to function. And our programs, our cells will always function towards health unless there is a stressor, like a physical, chemical, or emotional stressor. But otherwise, every cell in your body is programmed to be well. So our cells are genetically programmed with the recipe for health, and it's our choices and our living environment that determine whether or not those ingredients for health are met. So health, by definition, then, is a state of healthy cell function. Consistent, healthy cell function is really what health is. Mm-hmm. So sickness by contrast then, is the lack of healthy cell function. So sickness is a lack of health just as darkness is a lack of light.
Okay.
So the function of our cells determines the states of our health, and the function and the cause of all non-healthy cell function is stressors. Again, either physical, chemical, or emotional.
Well, what's required to be healthy then?
So to be healthy, you need to meet your genetic requirements for your cells to be well. And if we're not well, it's either because we're deficient in something or we have a toxic overload in our body. So our cells require water, carbohydrates, fats, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and movement to be well. So that's what they require. But then the things that are toxic to the body are things, that would cause to drive the cell away from normal healthy cell function.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Sort of.
does. It does. So then what can we do? Like to start today, what can we do?
So what can we do? Well, one, I think that we need to look at ourselves first genetically, kind of as a species, as a human species.
Okay.
So it's a kind of way to look at your health a little different.
Yeah.
Because if you had, say, if I gave you a giraffe to live in your backyard, you would try to give it what you thought the giraffe would need, but probably in Indiana in your backyard, the giraffe's not going to survive very well.
Yeah.
Because he needs a lot of space. He lives in a herd. So we need to look at ourselves as a species. What do we require to be well?
Okay.
So 5 steps to better health. Number 1 is that we need to detoxify our environment and the foods that we eat. So we want to remove anything from our diet that we are not genetically adapted to eat. So eliminate things like insecticides, pesticides, food additives, colorings, artificial sweeteners, artificial colors. All those things need to be eliminated from your diet, because obviously those things are not found in nature. They're man-made substances. So we're not really genetically adapted to eat those things, although we can eat those things, but it's not healthy for us. I recommend a book called The Virgin Diet. It's written by J.J. Virgin, and just to help you detoxify your body. And she says you can lose 7 pounds in 7 days by eliminating 7 foods. And the 7 foods she recommends eliminating from your diet are gluten, dairy, soy, peanuts, sugar, and artificial sweeteners. So those are the ones that she recommends that you would eliminate.
Wheat and dairy?
Wheat and dairy, those are surprising for some folks.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, dairy you have to have for calcium, for strong bones.
For strong bones.
And wheat is the bread of life.
Right.
So how can we eliminate those?
So we've been told. So we've been told over and over that we need milk for calcium, for strong bones. However, you can get lots of calcium in green leafy vegetables, which of course everybody needs to eat more of. And then again, if you look at yourself as a human species, we're the only animal species that continues to drink milk after we've been weaned as a child. And then even stranger than that, if you're looking genetically, we drink milk from another species instead of our own species. So it's kind of odd when you think about it. But another reason to eliminate it is that a lot of people are lactose intolerant, and they just don't realize that until they eliminate dairy for a period of time. So if anybody has digestive problems, gas, bloating, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, I would eliminate dairy, number 1, to see if that helps. And then you mentioned wheat. So wheat, again, the bread of life, whole grains, we've seen that marketed to us here in the last 10 years a lot. However, there are several problems with wheat, but we'll go over 2. One is that it contains a protein called gluten. And a lot of people are gluten sensitive and they really don't realize it. However, there are people who actually have a disease called celiac disease where they produce antibodies and it becomes an autoimmune disorder, and it's called celiac disease. And you have a lot of digestive problems with that and immune problems as well. But even if you don't have full-blown celiac disease, you can just be sensitive to gluten, and again, not really realize it until you remove dairy or wheat from your diet. Another book I recommend for our viewers to take a look at is a book called Wheat Belly. And Wheat Belly was written by William Davis, who's a cardiologist. And he says wheat products elevate blood sugar levels virtually more than any other carbohydrate, from beans to candy bars.
Wow.
So as a matter of fact, one slice of wheat bread increases your blood sugar faster than if you just took a tablespoon of table sugar.
Wow.
And why is that important? Because when you keep spiking your blood sugar, it causes your pancreas to produce insulin. And you just exhaust your pancreas over a period of time, and then you become a diabetic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know, I've really never thought about leafy vegetables having calcium in them. You know, I've always thought about that as being milk, so that's very interesting. And I love what you said about animals. You know, once they're weaned off, they don't get milk anymore.
No.
You know, that is just totally new to me.
Their
you know?
diet changes. Yes, it's a new way to think of things. Yeah.
It is. It is. Of course, you always love to put cheese on stuff, you know. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah, you know, especially if you have, you know, weak bones, you know, push more milk, more dairy, you know.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting.
Another thing about the wheat is that wheat. Another book to look at is called Grain Brain, and it was written by a neurologist that recommends eliminating wheat, and a couple different reasons. One is that when you become diabetic, it doubles your chance of becoming or getting Alzheimer's disease. So again, by watching the carbohydrates, you know, it's important. The other thing that wheat and gluten does is that it causes your body to be in a low-grade inflammation. So, and we know that the root of all disease, chronic disease, is this low-grade inflammation, and this inflammation then can affect the brain. So, another interesting book to look at if you're thinking, well, I don't know if I want to give up wheat, is to take a look at this book called Grain Brain, written by a neurologist as well.
Grain Brain, yeah, that would be interesting. You know, a lot of our viewers, you know, is interested in Area 9, so we try to get a lot of the seniors involved in watching our show. And, you know, a big topic nowadays is Alzheimer's.
Yes.
So, you know, dementia, any of those type of things. So that would be definitely a good book for the viewers to take a look at. So, okay, well, if we can't eat wheat and we can't eat dairy and sugar, what can we eat?
What can you eat? Well, I suggest that you eat clean. So step number 2 is to eat clean. Step number 1, detoxify. Step number 2, eat clean, which means follow a diet that humans are genetically adapted to eat.
Okay.
So I recommend what has been called a Paleolithic diet, or paleo diet for short. So what that means is to eat like our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate. So it's mostly meats, fruits and vegetables, and nuts and berries. Is basically it. So, but again, you're eliminating the wheat, dairy, sugar, artificial sweeteners out of your diet. But there's really lots of things to eat. It's just it's a mind shift, and this is the way I eat, and it was much easier than I thought it would be to do, because I'd heard not to eat wheat for a while, and I didn't understand why, and so now that I understand the science behind it, it makes so much sense, and it's really not that difficult to do. Another book I'd recommend for your viewers is called It Starts With Food. And this book, they offer you to do a challenge. It's called the Whole 30 Challenge. And basically it's 30 days of eating a Paleolithic diet and eating clean. So you've eliminated the wheat and dairy. And the book explains again why to do that in layman's terms. And then it gives you ideas what to eat. And there's lots of apps and other books that you can get recipes from. I use an app. It's called Nom Nom Paleo, and it's an app. It's also a cookbook. You can follow them on Facebook or Twitter, and you get recipe ideas, and it's just a great way to start moving towards paleo. And because when you think, well, what am I going to eat? Well, you Google it, like everything else in the world today.
Right.
You Google it. You make a paleo chicken salad, and it'll explain to you how to do that, or paleo meals. So it's really easy to do.
Well, and the things that you mentioned that we can't eat in the blue zone, those were all of those items is what those people ate.
Yes.
And they lived to be over 100 years old.
Yes.
So, and some of them were farmers, and they ate everything that they grew.
Yeah, and no processed
No processed at all.
Yeah.
And today we live on processed
in
foods.
the United States, processed foods.
Yeah, and especially the younger generation, I guess, is probably worse than, the older generation, but because
Yes.
that's what they're used to.
I tell my patients, when you go to the grocery store, you just walk around the perimeter, which is, the meats and fruits and vegetables. You don't need to go down those aisles where all that packaged food is to tempt you to eat all those things full of additives and all the other things that we shouldn't be eating.
Yeah. Well, what other steps? Okay, you mentioned 2 steps. What are some other steps that we
So
could?
step number 3, everyone needs to supplement their diet, particularly in the United States, because we have a tendency to go down those aisles and drive through the fast food. So there are 3 supplements I recommend everyone take every day for life. 1 is a multivitamin. 2 is EPA DHA, which most people know is omega-3s.
Okay.
And number 3 is probiotics, which is kind of a new one for folks. So the first one, again, is a multivitamin. In 2002, finally, the Journal of American Medical Association came out and said everyone should take a multi. So definitely a multivitamin. And then omega-3s are important for brain function, so omega-3s. And then probiotics are so important for digestion and for your immune function. So those 3 supplements.
Okay. Now, like the omega-3, it's like fish oil,
Yes,
right?
there's fish oil.
That you can get your omega-3 from.
Yes.
Now, I've heard, you can take up to like 6 a day if you want to. Can you take as many as or does your body only process what it?
Yes. If you take more than your body needs, it'll be
It's gonna
excreted.
right.
But at least
that's what-
you've taken it.
Yeah.
Most people don't take any supplementation.
Yeah.
So a good start every day, multivitamin, omega-3s, and a probiotic.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Then, like your calcium, what if you're not eating much of your green vegetables?
So then you can supplement.
Add a supplement.
You can add additional
to do
calcium
that
if you
instead
need.
of your dairy. Then.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I guess it's getting adjusted, pretty much,
Yeah.
to all of this. I'm just not sure that a lot of people understand how important it is.
No.
You
Obviously,
know?
by the dollars that we spend on our health care
Yeah.
and the actual health of our nation, maybe it's not a priority, or it's just, we've been marketed so many different ways. It's really hard to distill.
Right.
Well, what should I do for my health? So that's why I think these 5 steps are steps that anybody can do, and really anybody can.
You've done it.
I've done
Right.
it, and I've had lots of patients do it who feel great once they do it. You got to get that click to go in your brain, but then once you do it, you feel much better, lose excess body fat, have more energy, so less joint pain. It's a great program
Especially
to do.
for people that are overweight. They have so many multiple problems just associated because of the weight that probably eliminates then a whole lot of problems for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have to really think about this, don't I?
So you're going to detoxify,
Okay.
you're going to eat clean, and then you're going to supplement your diet.
Okay.
Step number 4 is to move. You have to move. So another book it's called The Roadmap to 100. It was written by another medical doctor, Walter Boritz. And Dr. Boritz had studied, he examined studies, all the literature on aging, exercise, obesity, nutrition, and disease. And what everything boiled down to was you have to move more. And I was real impressed reading the book in that Dr. Boritz himself, at age 80, had ran his 40th marathon.
Wow.
26 miles.
26 miles.
So I don't have any excuse.
Yeah.
So you have to move more. And we talked about the blue zone quite a bit. In there it says move naturally. in these regions where the people live so long, a lot of their natural movement is up and downhill, gardening, physical labor. In the United States, I recommend people just do something that you like to do. Workout sounds like work. If you go play tennis or play golf or play something, it sounds like it could be fun.
Right.
But you just need to get up. You gotta move more. We're not genetically to sit here
Right.
8 hours a day in this chair like we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we do that when we go to work.
Yep.
When we come home from work, we sit on the couch. We just sit too much all day long.
I got a Fitbit
Oh,
for
great.
a gift.
Yeah.
And getting ready for our senior expo, I checked it out, and it was something like almost 15,000 steps,
Wow.
And on Friday I go to work. End of the day I looked at it was 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That
so
10,000
yeah,
mark is hard to get
Yeah.
with the
and
way we sit.
Yeah, you don't realize. I do. I realize that you sit all day, but when you actually have something to look at to say, I only made 2,000 steps today, So yeah, get active. I had a guest on my show a few years ago. It was about preventing falls, but she said something to me that made such an impression. That when people go to get up off the chair, what do? We put our arms on the chair and we help ourselves up, just because it's habit. Just sitting in that chair is habit, instead of just rising from the chair. Without that extra help, you're not doing anything but just adding that much more muscle to your body to make yourself move a little bit more. So yeah, I guess I have to recommend a Fitbit.
Yeah, a Fitbit is a good idea to track your
tracks
steps.
It just makes you aware of how much you are moving during the day.
Or not moving.
Or not moving.
Yes.
And the saying goes, you lose it. What is it?
If you don't use it,
If you don't use it,
yes.
you lose it. Yeah, and that's kind
That's
of what
true.
you're saying, isn't
That's
it?
true, yes.
Okay, well, what can cause your spine to get misaligned?
Well, step number 5 is
Yeah.
I recommend getting adjusted.
Okay.
And why? Because the health of your spine and your nervous system actually determines how your body functions. And remember, health is all about your body functioning at 100%. So your nervous system is what controls every cell, tissue, and organ of your body. From the things you do all day to things like your heart beating, lung expanding, food digesting, everything is controlled by your nervous system. So your brain is encased in bone, but the spinal cord and the nerves that exit can be vulnerable to damage because there's 24 bones that cover your spinal cord. But as those nerves come out, if those bones become misaligned, it can interfere with the function of the nervous system, which can result in your body not functioning the way it should. So that's why it's important that everybody has their spine checked. But you said, what can cause your spine to get out of line? Well, it can be trauma, obviously, I suppose, but any kind of, again, physical, chemical, even mental, emotional stress. You've heard of, I've got the weight of the world on my shoulders. That puts your spine out of line. A new thing now, everybody has a cell phone. Now there's a condition called tech neck, which means that you're like this all day long. Then you're like this.
Yeah.
And your spine, your neck goes forward, your body goes forward.
Yeah.
And if you just lean forward like this and try to breathe, you'll notice that it decreases your oxygen capacity just from being like this.
Like that.
So we want your shoulders to be back, your head up, and being able to change your posture by changing those misalignments in the bones of your spine. Because a lot of times people have poor posture. This happens over time. And to correct that posture, people really need to be adjusted to get the spines realigned and your nervous system functioning 100%.
Tech's neck. Is that what you said?
Tech.
Tech neck.
Neck.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All the technology.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
technology. Okay,
Yes.
you're so right on that. I mean, I see everybody doing that.
Yeah.
It's
So it
just-
used to be the computer like this,
Right.
and now everybody's like
carpal tunnel before.
Yeah, carpal
from
tunnel
this,
before.
And now that. Okay. Well, so to correct that, when we're texting and doing our cell phones, we need to just sit up and
Yeah, you need to be conscious of your
Conscious of
posture
it. Yeah.
all day long because Yeah. Again, we sit all day.
Yeah.
You know, if your computer monitor's over here and you're like this, it's hard on your neck. If you're answering the phone at work and it's like this, you know, or you're holding your cell phone.
Just
So
be conscious with.
you need to be conscious of your spine. And if you have spine pain, it's a good indication that you have a spine problem. But even if you don't have pain, it's a good idea to have your spine checked to make sure that your nervous system is functioning properly.
You know, I never thought about like stress. Like you said, you got weight on your shoulders. You know, I never thought about, you know, all that makes a difference.
Yeah, it sure does.
So, you know, you always hear good posture, put the book on your head, you know. I mean, that's what we've always been instilled to think. But nowadays, it's a lot different.
Yeah, we live in a different world.
Okay, so can you give us a quick the 5 steps, what we should be doing?
Okay, so first you're going to detoxify.
Okay.
You're going to eliminate things like insecticides, pesticides, food coloring, anything that doesn't look like food, you probably shouldn't eat it.
Okay.
You know, if it's a bright yellow, don't eat it.
Yeah.
So detoxify, eat clean, so only the things that we're genetically adapted to eat. And number 3 is to supplement your diet with a multi, a EPA, DHA, or omega-3s, and probiotics. Number 4 is you have to move more. And number 5, I really recommend people get adjusted.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, we're just about out of time, so we got all 5 steps in, and I want to thank you so much for coming today, because this is such an important topic, and I learned a lot, so I'm sure everybody else did too. And thank you for all the books, the recommendations, because that will give our viewers some more tools to look at. So.
Yes, that was just too much information in too short a time, so
Yeah.
I recommend that you really read up on it too.
Great, great. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us today. And Dr. Johnson is with Johnson Chiropractic offices and here in Richmond. And if you have any questions, I'm sure we can, well, you can probably just look it up in the book. It's the best thing to do,
Yes, so
right?
Google me.
Yeah, Google.
I'd be happy to answer anybody's question.
Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us today on Inside Area 9, and we will look forward to seeing you next time, and have a wonderful day.